Profits for Dos Equis went up 34% during that time.
Steve, you are a very interesting man. You travel a lot. I mean, you've been to London and spoke to Cambridge and Oxford and London Society of Medicine. You've been to NASDAQ. You've spoken at trade shows. You're an interesting guy, right? I'm looking out your window and you've got snow on a lake, and I know you do a lot of really cool photographs of sunsets. But I would dare to say you're not the most interesting man in the world.
Oh, God, no, for sure.
But Dos Equis did a great job of highlighting the most interesting men in the world. And I know, here's the thing, I know you know stuff about this campaign, so I'm going to shut up a little bit in this one. I do love this whole thing. I think that the trope has been used a couple of times pretty well, but I think we play an ad for Dos Equis and the most interesting man in the world, say, thirsty, my friends. And then I
don't always drink beer, but when I do,
I prefer a Dos Equis. Like everybody knows the stupid thing. Okay, let's play this and then we can talk about it. Here we go.
People hang on his every word, even the prepositions. He could disarm you with his looks or his hands. Either way, he can speak French in Russian. He is the most interesting man in the world.
I don't always drink beer, but when I do, I prefer Dos Equis. Stay thirsty, my friends.
These ads haven't run for I think about a decade they haven't run for, but it's been 8 or 9 years.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. And here's the thing. Here's how successful these ads were for Dos Equis, because Dos Equis was not a large, well-known Mexican beer. In fact, the best-known Mexican beer was Corona. During the I couldn't find all the data, but I could find some data from 2007 to 2015. And during that period of time, foreign beers in the United States struggled. From 2007 to 2015, profits for Dos Equis went up 34% during that time, which the beer business is freaking huge.
No, that's massive.
Right, especially where you're in a category that's not growing, right? So they managed to
they're stealing market share.
Stole tons of market share. And the character Goldsmith, Jonathan Goldsmith, is the character who played the most interesting man in the world in terms of the original iterations. We got to talk about the first iteration, second iteration.
Yes.
It's even an interesting story about how he got the role, because he showed up. He showed up and there's all these young, good-looking guys trying out for the role, and then there's him. And he's like, well, what the hell am I going to do? So I forget what he did. He did something weird, like in terms of rolled up his pants and took his socks off and did a couple of different things, and then didn't read the lines. Like actually delivered in this real, and it didn't call for this foreign accent. He put on this, he did all these crazy things to stand out. But all of a sudden people are like, man, he's really interesting.
Yes.
Right, he became interesting and got the role as the most interesting man in the world. And
brilliant.
I actually believe Dos Equis got lucky and did not realize what happened.
Okay, tell me.
And here's the reason why they got lucky. So when we talk about branding, and branding is the most powerful emotions we can get when somebody thinks about our business, is either self-identification, in other words, that's me, or aspirational.
I want to be like you.
Those are the two most powerful things. When you watch the most interesting man in the world, the version with Goldsmith, is it not kind of aspirational? Isn't he kind of like the crazy uncle that you actually, the crazy old uncle that you actually aspire to be?
Right.
And here's the crazy thing is, the beer did great with millennials.
Oh,
and it's an old guy. Why?
Yeah.
They looked at him and went, he's cool, man. When I'm older, I'm going to be just like him.
I want to walk out of an ocean carrying a pirate's chest of gold and plop it down on the sand, right?
It's so ridiculous and made up, but he's cool.
Yeah, he's had adventures. He's lived. He's experienced. Right.
I can aspire to be him. Now, it's a young guy They switched it to a young guy, ran for a couple of years, and they pulled the campaign because the campaign was no longer working. The campaign had run its course. BS. Here's the reason why it didn't work. And I understand, well, we cast a young guy because we're appealing to young drinkers and they're good. But guess what? A young guy being like that is not aspirational.
Right.
He's a rich, privileged dick.
I agree, 100%.
Especially to Gen Z and millennials. He's a rich, privileged dick. He's not the old uncle that you aspire to be. They accidentally hired Goldsmith because they originally didn't cast an old guy, and they struck lightning lucky. And how do I know it's lucky? Is when they recast it, they didn't recast it with another old guy.
Right.
They recast it with a young man.
Right.
And they were trying to do we'll do the early origin. And it just didn't work as well.
Yeah. No, and this is what I'm glad. I'm glad that you talked about whether it's self-identification or aspiration. Those two are massively powerful. And I'm glad you because that's what I'm feeling, right? Like if you want to do this for yourself, if you want to do this for a campaign for yourself, or if you just want to, structure your messaging so that it has aspiration. Because I mean, listen, we'll probably have to do a whole thing on Jay Peterman. Jay Peterman does a great job with this aspirational writing. It's just all they do is they use they put as the description for their items, for their clothing items. If you want to do this, think about what it is that you'd like your audience to aspire to, your potential clients to aspire to, or how they self-identify. And if you've got a product that ranges, nice and neat into an age group, then great. But lean heavily into how do they identify?
How do they self-identify?
Right.
What do they
aspire to be?
Here's the interesting thing. This campaign, you knew it was going to work. This was the man from Hathaway. So this was the Hathaway shirt guy with the eye patch. If you read the copy of Hathaway shirts,
yes,
it's kind of a little bit like that. And then they took somebody who looked a little bit like Ernest Hemingway. Ernest Hemingway was a cool dude, right? So they had an Ernest Hemingway looking person with this Spanish accent who was basically the Hathaway shirt guy. And they didn't even know what they had. They didn't even understand what they had.
Ogilvy on advertising, and I don't know why I don't have it right here. It's always behind me, but what a great book. If you want to read about the man, I'm sure you can Google it, but it's done so well in the Ogilvy on advertising book. Yes, thank you. I didn't put those together, but that's exactly, it's exactly what it is. Great advertising from the past. If it worked, it's going to continue to work. We just need to modernize it. Lean into aspiration, lean into self-identification. Steve, do you want me to play the new one that
I think we should
failed?
play the new one, but let's play it, and I want people to look at it with this set of eyes. Watch this ad, and now tell me emotionally how you feel.
We're gonna do it right here. Here we go.
He once cheated death, and death was perfectly okay with it. He can tie his arm behind his back, with one arm tied behind his back. If life were to give him lemons, he'd make a spinach fettuccine with a shiitake mushroom glaze. He played college football in high school. He is the most interesting man in the world.
I don't always drink beer, but when I do, I prefer the sake. Stay thirsty, mis amigos.
The question's there. Aspire to or identify as. You guys leave the comments below. We're not going to answer this one for you. You let us know if Steven's prediction is right or wrong. Okay.
Maybe it's just me.
You're not as interesting as the rest of the story, so maybe we'll see. Just joking. Anyway, Steve, thank you guys. Like and comment, subscribe, all that jazz, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.